Good morning, students. So far we saw that what is connective tissue, how does the structure of connective tissue looks like, right? Now we will talk about the different types of connective tissue which are going to study in detail. Now children, here on the screen these are the different types of connective tissue. So broadly, if we talk about, there are 4 important types of connective tissue. The first one is fluid connective tissue, second one is support connective tissue, third one is dense connective tissue, and fourth one is loose connective tissue. Right? Talking about the fluid connective tissue, further it is divided as the 2 broad things which comes under the category of fluid connective tissue is blood and lymph, right? So these are the fluid connective tissue of our body. Under the category of support connective tissue, bones and cartilage are there. Under the category of dense connective tissue, ligaments and tendon are there. Under the category of loose connective tissue, areolar and adipose tissues are there. So these are the different categories, different varieties of connective tissue which is present in our body. Now we will discuss about blood, we will discuss about lymph. The next one is support connective tissue. Now even inside connective tissue we will have broadly classification them into, as one is blood. So blood is considered as a separate connective tissue. Then we have support connective tissue. There are certain connective tissue whose main function is to support. So under that category it falls bones and cartilage. Then we have dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, as the name says, it is very dense. That means maybe it has more fiber in the extracellular matrix. That proportion of fiber is more that compared to the ground substance. So dense connective tissue are also sometimes known as fibrous connective tissue because it is more fibrous. So under this category we falls ligament and tendon. So these ligament and tendons help in joining bone to bone and bone to muscle, right? Then we have loose connective tissue, under which we will talk about areolar tissue and adipose tissue. So loose connective tissue, it actually loose connect tissue in a very similar fashion. It will have some empty spaces, right? In dense connective tissue we have more fiber. In loose connective tissue, ground substance plays a role. So these are some type of connective tissue which we are going to discuss in this lesson. Now children, let us start with the blood. So talking about the blood, it is a fluid connective tissue. So question here is, why is blood a connective tissue? A very important question. Why is blood a connective tissue? Because we might be wondering that connective tissue is something which join things, like for example bones, tendons, ligaments, right? So that is quite convincing. But why is a blood connective tissue? What is it connected? We will see that. Children, talking about blood, so blood consists of 78% of water and it consists 22% solids, right? So this is the composition of blood. Now, since blood connects different systems of the body by transporting gases, digested food, hormones and waste material to different body parts, that is why blood is considered as a connective tissue, right? जैसे अभी हमने बताया था. So blood connects different body parts, that is why it is a connective tissue, and it is 78% of water, that is liquid. So that is why it is said as fluid connective tissue, right? Because the water content is more, the fluidity is more. Now let us talk about the different components of blood. What are the different components which make a blood? Now, like every connective tissue, it has a matrix. Similarly, blood also has a matrix that was a general structure of any connective tissue. So whichever connective tissue we will talk about, blood, bone, cartilage, ligament, tendon, everything will have a matrix, and they will also have some cells embedded in matrix. So children, in case of blood, what is the extracellular matrix? So the extracellular matrix is known as blood plasma. So it is a fluid matrix on which blood cells are embedded, right? So the basic structure is remain the same. You have a matrix. In that matrix you have the cells which are embedded, and that matrix is made up of by fibers and ground substance, which we have already discussed. क्योंकि मैट्रिक्स क्या होता है, पहले भी मैंने आपको बताया था कि जो मैट्रिक्स होता है, what is actually the matrix? Matrix is actually fiber plus ground substance. किस चीज़ का बना होता है मैट्रिक्स? फाइबर्स का और ग्राउंड सब्सटेंस का, राइट? एंड blood plasma is composed of, children, because here we are talking about the blood matrix. So blood matrix is plasma, and this plasma is composed of 91% of water, protein, nutrient and electrolyte, right? And this plasma makes 55% of the total volume of blood, right? Plasma around 55% of the total volume of blood makes, right? So this composition of matrix is remain same in all connective tissue, but the nature of matrix is different, and somewhere it is again different. So in case of blood, extracellular matrix, which is a blood plasma, and many different type of cells are also there which are embedded in this plasma. So what are those different type of cells? The first one is red blood cells, that is RBCs. Children, talking about these RBCs, so these are the small cells without nucleus. So nucleus is absent in RBCs. So you can see that it is also drawn in your NCRT. The picture is also drawn in an NCRT, which is showing that RBCs, which are very small cells without nucleus. So this point is also, remember that these cells are anucleated cells, right? So the very first characteristic of RBC. Now another important thing about the RBC is that they carry oxygen from lungs to different body parts, right? So this is the function of RBCs actually, because I already said that blood has a function of transportation. So in transporting, it transports oxygen. Now every component of blood has some specific function. For example, RBCs carry oxygen from lungs to different body parts. Similarly, the next component, which is white blood cells, it is also abbreviated as WBCs. What are they? So these WBCs are nucleated cell. The nucleus is there now. That means there are the cells having nucleus. What do they do? Here we are going to talk about the functions. So children, basically WBCs help fight infections. I hope that you are aware with this function of WBCs, because you have studied in class 10 also. They help fight infections and builds the immune system. Now the question arises in our mind, what is this immune system? Now inside the body of any individual will have an immune system which fight against infection. For example, it might happen some infections entered in body by any mean, okay? So it will try to disturb your body functions, but there is by default a system which will fight with that infection. That system is known as immune system. If immune system wins, you do not fall ill at all. If the immune system fail, then you fall ill, because infection win in that case, right? So it infect your body and you fall ill, right? So these WBCs make the immune system more stronger. Talking about these WBC, so talking about the lifespan, so WBCs has a lifespan of 3 to 4 days in human body. उसी तरीके से RBCs का भी लाइफ स्पैन होता है, which is 120 days. So their longevity is very less. They are alive only for 3 to 4 days, after which they die, and again new WBCs are formed. So the formation and completion of WBCs is keep happening very frequently, right? The third component is platelets. What are platelets? These are smaller in size as compared to RBCs. Have you ever seen that when you get a cut somewhere, your finger, like somewhere around, what happens? It starts bleeding, blood is coming out, right? So it is keep on coming out forever. It is not like that. ऐसा ही होता है क्या? कहीं कट लग जाए, ब्लीडिंग स्टार्ट होती है तो ब्लीडिंग हमेशा होती रहेगी? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होता. After some time the blood stops flowing, the blood clots, right? And that is where the platelets played a very important role. So it helps in blood clotting. Therefore, it prevents excessive loss of blood. If less blood is left in body, the body becomes weak. So platelets help in blood clotting. So there are three important or main components of blood, components we can say the cells of blood, that is known as RBCs, WBCs and platelets, right? So children, we talking about the different components. Just take a revision. Talking about the different components, so we have the very first component is the blood plasma. Talking about the blood plasma, it composes 55% of total blood content and 91% it is water. So that is why it gives the fluidity to the blood. So that is why blood is a fluid connective tissue. Cells, RBCs, which carry oxygen, WBCs, which may maintain our immune system and make our immune system more strong. Then platelets, which helps in blood clotting. So this is the very first type of the fluid connective tissue, which is known as blood. Moving towards the second category of fluid connective tissue, which is present in our body, is known as lymph. Now here we are going to talk a little about lymph. Children, lymph is a fluid that flows through the lymphatic system. Children, lymph जो होता है, कई बार क्या होता है कि ब्लड वेसल्स में थोड़ी बहुत लीकिंग होती है एंड सम ऑफ द कंटेंट लीक्स इनटू द इंटरस्टिशियल स्पेसेस एंड दैट सब्सटेंस which is present in those interstitial spaces is termed as interstitial fluid, और उस interstitial fluid को हम लोग कहते हैं lymph, right? lymph का एक सेपरेट सिस्टम होता है हमारी बॉडी में, जैसे ब्लड का एक सिस्टम होता है जिसे हम ब्लड वेस्कुलर सिस्टम कहते हैं, उसी तरीके से lymph का भी एक सिस्टम होता है जिसे हम lymphatic सिस्टम कहते हैं. एंड दिस सिस्टम इज composed ऑफ lymph vessels and intervening lymph nodes, whose function, like the venous system, is return fluid from tissue to the central circulation, right? lymphatic system का क्या काम होता है कि that return fluid from the tissue to the central circulation, right? So this is the very important function of the lymphatic system. lymphatic system किन चीज़ों से मिलकर बना होता है? lymph vessel से और lymph node से, right? lymph को हम इंटरस्टिशियल फ्लूइड भी कहते हैं. इससे बनने वाले सिस्टम को हम लिम्फेटिक सिस्टम कहते हैं, क्योंकि लिम्फ वर्ड जो है वो लैटिन वर्ड से आया है जिसका मतलब होता है वाटर. सो इट इज़ अ फ्लूइड, सो दैट इज़ वाई इट इज़ अ फ्लूइड कनेक्टिव टिश्यू, एंड इट कनेक्ट्स अवर बॉडी बिकॉज इट कनेक्ट्स, like how it collect all the fluid, all the substance from the tissue and return back to the central circulation. So that is why it connects our body together, and that is why it is a connective tissue, because it is more water there, so that is why it is a fluid connective tissue. The cells of the lymph, because again the composition is same, right? So the matrix is there which gives the liquid state to the lymph, and some of the cells which are embedded in the matrix, those cells are termed as lymphocytes, right? So this is the composition of lymph. In the next video we will discuss about the support connective tissue. So children, I hope that you understand today's lecture, today's explanation is become clear to you. Still you have any doubt, any query, so please children do ask, just feel free to ask, right? So in the next video we will discuss about support connective tissue. Till then, have a nice day and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.